Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about solving equations again, and we're going to focus on real-world problems. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to write and solve real-world equations. Now before we write and solve them, we need to be able to read them. The first thing that we need to do when we read them is look for what do we want to know. Do we want to know how many years have passed? In that case, I would define a variable as y equals number of years. Do we want to know how many boxes of Oreos I bought? Then I would say b equals number of boxes. Or do I want to know the cost of something? C equals cost. Then I'm going to look for any constants in my story problem. Now those are going to take the form of flat rates, things that I may be paying for only once, any beginning amounts. So I'm going to start by looking for those. So like, does the population start at 200? Then I would have a constant of 200. The next thing that we're going to look for is variables. Now, by variables, I mean what is changing over time. Is the number of boxes I'm buying changing? Is the population changing? Hey, and by how much? Now, how do they connect? Okay. They connect by words like increases and decreases. So does the population increase by 100 plus 100? Or does the population decrease by 100 minus 100? And if I do that change repeatedly, then I'm going to have to multiply it by a variable or multiply it by x. So with this information, let's go ahead and look at a story problem. Tavin has $2,515 in his savings account. He wants to buy a snowboard and 3 pairs of snowboarding socks. His parents said that he cannot let his savings account go below $1,500. If socks cost $15.25 each, what is the maximum amount he could spend on a snowboard? So again, remember that the first thing I'm going to do is look for what is it that I want to know. I want to know what he can spend on a snowboard. So again, I'm going to define my variable. S, or my variable, is going to equal, I'm going to change the colors real quick. S is going to equal the money spent on the snowboard. All right. So if S is the amount of money I spent on the snowboard, I'm going to go ahead and start looking for those key constants, the flat rates, the beginning amounts, the things I'm going to pay once. So to start with, if there is any beginning amount, I'm going to start with that. So I do have a starting amount. Tavin starts with this much in his bank account. So here I go. 2515. Now, is his bank account increasing or decreasing? Well, I noticed, well, if I'm buying stuff, it's going to go down. And what is he buying? And what is his bank account changing by? Well, he's buying a snowboard. Well, I don't know what that costs, but I did represent it with an S. So, minus S. And he also paid for 3 pairs of snowboarding socks. So, I know how much his snowboarding socks cost, and I know he bought 3 of them. So 3 times $15.25. And I want that total amount to give him at least $1,500 in his bank account. So I'm going to write equals $1,500. And now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to figure out how much his snowboarding socks cost by 3 times $15.25. His boarding socks cost $45.75. I'm bringing down the rest of this stuff. And I'm going to combine my like terms. 25.15 minus, so the total amount minus what I'm paying for snowboarding socks. And I have left over 24.69.25 minus his snowboard is equal to 1,500. Now that I've simplified, I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So minus 24.69.25. 1,500 minus that number is So I'm left with the equation negative S is equal to negative $969.25. And after that, I am going to divide by -1 to get rid of the negative in front of the S, and S is equal to $969.25. So make sure you go back up and answer the question. What is the maximum amount he could spend on a snowboard? He could spend $969.25 could be spent. All right, let's look at another one. So general admission to Lagoon is $73.95. Let's go ahead and change colors. Per person. Passes to ride the catapult is $20 per person. Parking is $15 per person. How many members, and it should say family, how many family members visited the park if the total cost was $390.80? Well, first off, I want to know, what I'm looking for is how many family members. So how many members? So M equals number of family members. All right, so as I go ahead and I read this, I'm looking for any constants. Now, my cost is changing by this much per person, so that's not a constant. It's changing by $20 per person for this, so that's not a constant. And this last one does not look like a constant, $15 per family. But remember, I'm only looking at one. I want to know how many family members are visiting the park. That means I only have one family. So this is an amount that I'm only going to pay once. So this is my constant. Okay, I'm going to pay this once. So let's go ahead and start with our equation. Now, I'm going to start by paying $15, but now that I'm paying, instead of that amount decreasing, it's going to increase. So I'm going to write plus. Well, to that I'm adding $73.95. That's how much it's changing by per person. So for each member of the family, M. And again, that is increasing by $20 for every person who goes on the ride. So M is equal to, and my total cost, $390.80. If you ever have any total costs, that is a key that it's going to say equals that amount. All right, let's combine like terms. 73.95 and 20 is going to give me 15 plus 93.95 M. And I'm going to go ahead and finish solving this. Minus $15 for parking, $390.80 minus $15 for parking is $375.80. So 93.95 M is equal to 375.80. And now to solve, I'm going to finish by dividing by $93.95. $93.95. Make sure I type that into my calculator right. And M is equal to 4. So what did I just answer? Now that I have M is equal to 4, remember M stands for the number of family members. So how many people visit a park? 4 family members. A town's population is 14,000 and it is increasing by 160 people every year. A nearby town has a population of 24,000 and is decreasing by 200 every year. In about how many years will the populations be equal? Oh, question mark. So, what is my question? What is it that I want to know? I want to know how many years. So my variable in this problem is going to be y is equal to number of years. That's what I'm looking for. And I want to know when they are going to be equal. So whenever it asks you when two things are going to be equal, that means I'm going to be having a comparison. And I'm going to start with an equal sign. And I'm going to be comparing two things. Well, I'm comparing my two towns. So town, and I'm going to be comparing the nearby town. So let's write all the information for a town's population on this side and a nearby town's population on this side. So a town's population starts, my beginning amount is 14,000, so that's my constant. Now that population is increasing, so the thing that's going to connect it to how much it's changing is a plus sign, and it's changing by 160 people. Now it says every year, so I'm going to make sure I have year, every year, times y. My nearby town, 24,000, but in this town, it's decreasing by 200 every year. And now let's go ahead and solve it. I've got an equation with variables on both sides. So I'm going to get my variables on the same side. I'm going to make this my variable side. So plus 200y. And that's going to give me 14,000. And that's going to give me plus 360y is equal to 24,000. I'm going to subtract 14,000. Make sure you write down the right number of zeros. And I have 360 is y is equal to 10,000. And if I type that division problem in my calculator, 10,000 divided by 360 is equal to 27 years, 0.7 repeating. So to finish my answer, how many years did it take? Okay, 27.78 will round to the hundredths place years to be equal. Kylie and her coworkers brought 9 work trucks to a service station for oil changes, and while they were there, they put 10 gallons of gas into each vehicle. The cost of the gas was $3.11 a gallon, and the total bill was $684.90. Now my question is, what was the cost of an oil change for one truck? So my unknown is this, I'm going to let it be C for cost of oil change. All right, so let's go ahead and write our equation. Now, as I read through it, there may not be an obvious amount that I only have to pay once. So I'm just going to focus on a couple of things that I have to pay. I have to pay for 9 oil changes. So 9 of these C's. So I'm going to write 9C. And to the amount that I am paying, I have to also add for the gas that I put into my trucks. So they put 10 gallons of gas into each vehicle. Well, 10 gallons, 9 work trucks, that's 90 gallons of gas. And I need to times that by how much my gallon of gas was. So $3.11. And that's the total amount that I'm paying. So is equal to $684.90. So let's go ahead and solve that. 90 times 311 is 9C is plus 279.90 equals 684.90. Subtract my constant, 684.90 minus 279.90 is going to give me 405. 9C is equal to 405. And dividing that by 9 gives me C is equal to 45. So to answer my final question, what was the cost of an oil change? Okay, $45 per oil change.